Hello guys, I hope you guys are all well and having a great week. Tonight, Middlesex University Product Design Engineering and Design Engineering are really excited to host our 12th talk in the annual guest lecture series. So this series runs weekly throughout the academic year on Thursday evenings, bringing together a vibrant mix of speakers from across the full spectrum of design and engineering. So a mix of leading practitioners, opinion leaders, radical thinkers, and emerging talents to inspire and support professional development for our participants. Tonight, we're really excited to host Maria van Doremalen. Maria is a graduate of the BA Product Design program at Middlesex and currently a product designer in Fintech at Salary Finance. She's dedicated to creating experiences that help people become financially healthier and happier. We're also joined by Cagno, an Italian digital designer who works on the same team as Maria at Salary Finance. And Alice will also share a side project of her own, which will give a perspective of the possible options in UI UX and the different routes in UI UX careers as well. As usual, guys, feel free to gather your thoughts, your questions, your comments in the chat throughout the talk. We'll have Q&A at the end as well. And there's also the option to go live and interact after the main talks. And without any further ado, over to Maria van Doremalen with a talk titled Fintech, the what, the why, and the how.
Great, thank you so much, Hamid. So I'll bring in Alice a little bit to talk a little bit about herself as well. We want to get into fintech and what product design does within fintech, what is our role, and what does that look like, why do we do it, and how do we do it, what does that look like? So I'll move on. So a little bit agenda of what we'll go through today. So we're going to go about like who we are, a little introduction in ourselves. We'll go into the how did we get here? How did we get to Salary Finance? Why fintech? So what is fintech? How did you, why did we choose this? And also like what is the product design role in fintech? We definitely included QA. So I think we'll try to make this a nice casual discussion in the end. I've been in your position maybe like 3-4 years ago, so this feels like it's probably more of a casual conversation than a lecture, so I'll keep it super open and hopefully we get to discuss lots of good stuff in the end. A little bit about myself. So product designer for Salary Finance. I studied product design at Middlesex. I am from Portugal originally and I'm half Dutch as well. I moved here in 2014 for uni and I never left. So after that, in 2017, after graduating, I've gone into a more product role. I was doing personalized gifts with laser cutting and printing and all of these things that we've done at uni. I was doing that for a couple of years. And then noticed what did I actually enjoy about the design process. Really enjoyed the part of the research. Who are we doing this product for? Who's the end customer? And obviously when you are doing, well, specifically on the company that I was in, it's really focused on sales. So I wanted to be able to take some more time into researching and really getting to know the customer. So then I've decided to take a leap of faith. So after 2 years in this company, I've gone for a 4-month internship, unpaid, which is very controversial, but definitely helped me get the step into the right direction, which was a more digital approach. So I felt like I still had some skills I needed to learn, observe some experts, and go from there. So I did this internship with Relato, which was a startup, and they were under NatWest's wing. So NatWest has a program that for different startups, and from there sort of opened my finance world, and I got a position at World Remit that does online remittances as a junior product designer. So this is where my path into UX UI really began, and it was only in 2020, so beginning of the pandemic. Feels really recent, but it's already been like 2 years. And during that time, obviously with the COVID, it was super important to help people send money abroad, and this is what World Remit did. So I think I was really careful into what can we do as a product designer to make sure that people are getting money during this time. So it was really inspiring project. Then opened the door for where I'm at the moment, which is Salary Finance, which is all about financial well-being. So it is related to your employer, and focuses on helping people with their financial problems. I'm currently specifically looking into a service design for our ops team. So it's a little bit more of a technical role than customer focused, but I'll pass it over to Alice because like it will touch her world a little bit.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Alice Cagno. I'm Italian. I started my journey as a designer in 2013. I was still in high school back home in Italy. I did this very long on and off internship with this startup, and we were doing all sorts of AR, 3D, interactive design things for museums and exhibitions. And that's where I really loved the technology side of things. I always thought before that I would just, paint and do arts or being an architect, but I never thought that I would actually get into digital design. So then I went online and I found the digital design course the first digital design course that I could find. And I went to Brunel University. I studied there from 2016 to 2020, graduated in the midst of a pandemic, actually the very beginning of it. Whilst I was at Brunel, I did a placement year. I did it at Machina, which is a digital agency in Amsterdam. It was a great year. I learned a lot. And there I worked as a UX UI designer. Definitely different than Fintech, working in a design agency. There was always loads of things going on, definitely different work from clients all the time. You couldn't really focus on a project. There was one week you were working on something, the other week you're working on something else. So it was very exciting, but at the same time, rather frustrating, because if you had a project and an idea that you really liked, you could just be working on it for 5 days and then you'd just be sent working on something else. In October 2020, I got my first graduate job for this maintenance company, and I was fired after 1 month. It was a very, I would say, fun experience now in hindsight. It was definitely frustrating back then. They hired me as the only designer of the company, only one. And first, I had to develop this app for them. And I was told to lie to the whole company about it. So I guess the takeaway from this is don't get into a job just for the sake of getting a job. Just be sure that it's something that you like and be sure that the company is legit and cares about design. After that, I found Hyperjar, which is a money banking app, basically a smart budgeting app. I worked there from December to August, from December 2020 to August 2021. Sorry, I misspelled it there. I really enjoyed it. It was actually very fun. It's a proper startup. So I was working with another designer for a while, and then I was the only designer for some other time, but I found that I was lacking a little bit more of the teamwork and more learning because I was still very much a junior. So then in August 2020, I moved to Salary Finance, where I was a junior designer up until December, and I recently got promoted to a product designer like Maria. And meanwhile, I guess I have like 2 tracks that intertwine in this, which is I decided to develop my own app called Freddie. Freddie is a music gig arranging app. And Freddie was actually my dissertation at my uni. I figured out that if I had to work for a year on something, and if I had a good idea, I could make that idea into a future company. So that's what I did. Freddie was registered as a company in February 2021. In March 2021, I started developing the app. I outsourced some development. I outsourced some legal advice. And then finally in August, at the same time when I joined Salary Finance, I could launch the app. And now I'm in the process of getting traction, so getting more users on board and to get ready for the first round of investments if we can find some. So that's it. And the emojis on the sides are to show that, yes, we are in the corporate life, but we're also very much artsy. I mean, I personally love to climb. I'm Italian, so the hand gestures and all, I'm covered in tattoos. It's definitely not how you would see the corporate life portrayed. So yeah, thanks, Maria, for sharing.
Yeah, thank you, Alice. Oh, and so we'll go into a little bit of fintech. I'm sure everyone's heard of fintech by now. We're not going to go too much into detail because it's a huge, huge world. It stands for financial technology, and it basically means any technological innovation in the financial sector. It's normally centered into business to business or business to customer. So as a product designer, you normally get assigned to a team that will do business to business, so business to customer, and also depending on what the company actually does. I took the Oxford definition as well. It's a computer programs and other technology used to support or enable banking and financial services. So crypto, all the new things emerging are very much involved into fintech. We haven't personally looked into crypto in what we're doing, but there is a lot around banking and how people see money that keeps changing. So we will want to sort of discuss with you as well the importance that product design has in that role, how money is changing, and how it is important that us as designers make sure we use it for good. So make sure that we are creating these experiences, are helping people, not necessarily making companies more money, but making sure that we're empowering the user. Product design in fintech. So hopefully this will be quite familiar, because as I remembered, product design in general is problem solving. So a lot of these things should feel pretty familiar regardless of what design we're in. I tried to do it specifically for fintech, but I think it does relate a lot in UX, UI design in general. So what is a product designer? We are experts at solving problems. We don't know all the answers. A lot of people will get us involved into projects expecting we know the best flow, we know how to make the best onboarding experience. No, but we are the best at finding the answers, at figuring things out. We are the voice of the user. So in a big corporate world, it is our responsibility to bring visibility into what people are going through, and also to defend the users in unethical situations. For example, gambling, there's a lot of designers in gambling, and we should definitely be aware of where we're using our superpowers to design these experiences to help people and to protect our customers. We are curators as well of accessible journeys. So we try to take into consideration accessibility, everyone that is using the platform, and making sure that we're simplifying complicated experiences. Like you can see from what we think stocks are crazy complicated. A lot of people see money as something super complicated. They prefer not to look at their bank accounts. They don't understand how the system works. So we want to make sure that we are simplifying this into a tool that becomes part of your day-to-day rather than a big monster that no one wants to talk about. We are also experts at asking why. So we ask all the necessary questions. We need to be super social with our teams as well, get involved, get our hands dirty, and aim to understand all the subjects that we are designing for. So we're not experts in every little bit of things that we're going to be designing for, but we need to be really good at getting out there and asking all the questions. And then finally, we are empaths. So this is super important as well. I think resonating to what I said before about our moral responsibility, but we also need to understand our customers' pain points. We are actively looking at people using our products, and it's really good to see when things go wrong, be really sensitive about this, especially when it comes to money, and make it our mission to solve these problems. What does that look like? Alicia, do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Yes. So when you think about design and product design, most times you think, okay, I'm just going to design an app. I'm going to design a website. Well, actually, there's so much more than that. And as Maria always says, I agree. I haven't touched a pixel in a very long time, which is all good. I think doing UX, UI design is all about strategy, all about understanding your products. What you see in the middle is a very big, scary information architecture, but I personally love the feeling when everything clicks together and you can finally understand how every single part of the business and of your products work together. So it's all about mapping, interacting with your stakeholders, which are your colleagues, your PMs, your devs. So it definitely looks different than what at first I imagined and I envisioned to work for. In an agency, it was definitely less than that. We did have our workshops indeed, but it was much less strategy because you would only work for a very limited amount of time. Now that we have all the time to work on these things, we can do heat maps like the one on the right that you see. We can observe customer behaviors. We can have in-depth workshops with our customers and with our team. And I think that's really valuable because it helps us get a very good understanding of the customer and the users of our products. Maria, I don't know if you want to add something else.
No, that's perfect. Thank you. And then to get a little bit more of an idea of what does that look like in the business. So most startups in fintech and scale-ups will have a very similar way of working in terms of product teams. And I've seen that in the last 2 companies. And it is pretty much industry standard to have a product team. So in a big business, you'll have the big product team, like you can see. And within the product team, there are squads. Squads, I guess there's different words for them, but it's essentially small little teams that have different goals. So within the product, people will be looking at different objectives, and each team will have one objective and one main goal they're trying to achieve. And one of those teams will have a product manager or like a product owner, a product designer, which will be us, and then a scrum master, which is a person that is in charge of putting all the sessions together, all the meetings, and making sure everyone's aligned. And then the development team. I'm not going to go into too much detail. We could be here for a long time, but just to give you an idea of within the product team, you'll have your product manager or product owner, and that will be your go-to person. So it's quite interesting to think of, I would imagine as a product designer, I'll be working with the designers all the time, but actually no, you're almost like the single designer in a team. Sometimes you can have 1 or 2 designers if the project's really big, but normally you would be the design representative for that one particular squad. Pretty scary. Don't get too scared. This is just like a high level picture of what we do. So within that team, what is our responsibility? So the product owner will tell us something happens, there's a problem in the platform, we need you to solve it for us. So we normally go through this process. It's agile, so meaning that we don't have to follow it by the letter every time. Some projects are shorter than others, and we might skip a few steps or do it in a different way. But just at a high level, we spend a lot of time understanding the problem, researching, and a very, very little time actually designing it. And that was just to explain it a little bit. So we have the discovery, we ask all the questions, we get everyone involved, we do all the interviews, we do a lot of research as well. We set up, if you are lucky enough to have researchers in your team, amazing, you'll do that some teamwork. In our case, we don't, so we are the ones doing the research, reaching out to users, putting in sessions, trying out different things. And this is where you understand what the problem is. Because sometimes people say, I have this problem. When you look into it, actually, it was something else that happened before the problem that we want to solve. So then you'll have a concept, you'll think it's your hypothesis, or you'll think this is how we will solve it. And then you're going to have to prove that that's correct. So then again, if you prove that actually it's not going to solve the problem, you need to go back to the drawing board. So we spend, I would say, what do you think, Alicia, 80% on the research?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, maybe more.
And
then, yeah, and then just a little bit on actually designing it. And then we'll hand it over for the developments to build. And then we'll keep testing. Obviously, a project isn't over after you give it away. You have to make sure the users are using it. You have to make sure that it's actually doing what you wanted it to do. And then there is some design teamwork. We do work mainly in the big teams, but obviously we in salary finance, we are 5 designers, if I'm not wrong. So we get together a few times a week. So 80% of our time is spent in our squads. And we do have 20% to maintain consistency throughout like the product. So we need to make sure we're doing meetings across each other to make sure that we're not losing the essence of the team, and also keep each other motivated, because obviously it's quite fun to be working with other designers. So one of the a few examples I've added. So we work on maintaining a design system, which is all the components, buttons, things like that, that exist on the platform. So we need to maintain that, make sure we need to add more things or remove or change. We do that together. We also look at our research plans and templates. Do we have to update? Do we need a new template? We'll do that together. And also show and tells. We show each other what we're working on. We ask for advice. So it's a really like co-working environment, quite exciting. And of course, we do have some occasional fun social calls and social meetings. Not so much since lockdown, sadly, but hopefully when we're back in the office, we'll do a bit more of that. And even across the company, we do a lot of workshops to get people excited about design. And one last bit, we wanted to discuss as well, what is the lifestyle of a product designer in fintech? Mine is very different from Alice, and I think this is one of the reasons I really wanted to bring her in today, because my product design job at the moment is my full-time career, and I'm not doing any other side project at the moment, and she is. So I wanted to show that if you do choose to do something like that and have your own business on the side, what could that look like in terms of lifestyle? For me, my day starts pretty much 9 a.m. We have a stand-up meeting with the squads, and then coffee time with a product manager, product owner. We're partners in crime. I think with every product designer, there'll be a product owner. And then I have meetings. So depending on what's on my calendar, I'll do workshops, stakeholder management. So I'll show what I'm working on to different peers. And then by 6 o'clock, I'm pretty much done. So I'm able to have a pretty nice work-life balance. And what about you, Alice?
Yeah, I would say definitely a little bit more stressful than that. I also start my day 9:30. I have my stand-up call with the team. Then I have several meetings with PMs or just design work. So pretty much like the work day is the same. I'm done usually around 6:30. It's also mostly because one of the projects I'm working on is with the US. So at times like the time difference that kind of like leaves most meetings to later in the afternoon. Then I usually have my workout time, which is my me time. So I shut down from work, I close everything, I go for my workout, a couple of hours, come back home, eat and shower, and then I get ready for work again, which usually starts at 10 p.m. and ends around 12 or 1 a.m. at times, depending on how much I have to do. Yeah, I saw some of your questions and I will be happy to answer most of it in the Q&A, so I wouldn't spend too much time in this, but just a little takeaway in this is if you are having a business on the side, you have to be careful as well of not being burned out. So yeah.
Did I break out for a second there?
You're not sharing your screen anymore.
Yeah, I think my Wi-Fi. Apologies.
Okay.
Now we'll share again.
Cool.
Great. So then that leaves us the Q&A. So maybe Alice, you can go straight into it. I haven't.
That's a good point. Okay, let me read again the chat. Let's start from the beginning. Oh, there was also a question about me not being, I guess it was for me, for having short roles. For my roles, there was 1 year that was a placement, so that was 1 year work. 1 month after I was fired, really, the company was really not a good match. So that was a very short role I had. The role before Salary Finance, it was a startup. It was really cool environment. I really liked it, but I felt that my design knowledge wasn't used because they were very new. And what you can see in startups is that they need to deliver, and they ask you to make things pretty. And I really like to think about how things work and really work on the functionality rather than only making it pretty and testing it and really doing research. And they were doing no research whatsoever. So though I liked my time there, I also couldn't really see a personal development. So that's why I decided to change. And that's why I'm Salary Finance.
Maria and Alice, many thanks for that. Like, it's a superb overview on the what, the why, and the how of fintech. So the role of a product designer in the fintech industry, alongside how to get into the industry as well. So great examples throughout as well. And all of the participants, guys, feel free to continue to gather your thoughts, your questions, and your comments in the chat. If you want to go live and you want to interact with Maria and Alice, you definitely put a request through in the chat as well, and any of our guests, and Maria or Alicia can feel free to, to answer these. So the other question coming through now in the chat by Carlos Ariel was, and any one of you guys can answer that, or both of you guys as well. What's the most difficult when you were studying and at the same time creating a business? And any good recommendations from your experiences?
Okay, so starting at creating a business. So because my business is now, well, was my dissertation, I took it very much as I really want to make this happen, right? It was a very fun, and I took it as a playground for a future business, because it's your dissertation, you have your time, you have your research, you have all of the resources you need, you have someone that's telling you, a professor that's helping you out. So I thought, I'm just gonna start it and see how it is. And because it was part of it, it didn't feel like I was juggling two things, because at that time it wasn't a registered business yet. So it was just like really coming up with the concept. The juggling starts when you have a job and you also have a business on the side, which is different.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say, Maria, in terms of that as well?
Sorry, my internet just failed. This is why I think the screen sharing, but I've relocated and it should be good now.
No, that's totally cool. In terms of what Carlos's question was, do you have any recommendations from your experience in terms of your transition into the digital product design industry and your time at Fintech as well so far?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was surprisingly easy transition. I remember Wynne always saying the world's full of pretty things that are useless, but we need to make sure we're building products to solve problems. So I think the mindset of when we were creating projects and products is pretty much similar. This is what every employer wants to hear, is that you spend lots of time asking questions, understanding who's it for, why does it need to exist. So it was, in terms of like in theory and the mindset, it was a pretty smooth ride. Obviously, in terms of skills, I didn't do any specific course. I learned by trying, to be honest. And I think if it's something you want to do, Google it. Everything is online. You can do these expensive little extra courses to help you get the skills, but the best way to learn is by trying and making. And thank goodness today we have all the resources, and Figma, I think, would be like the best tool to give it a try. Should be pretty familiar if you use like Photoshop, Illustrator. All the tools are quite intuitive. So hopefully, I think it was pretty not so scary. I think it was scary in my mind, but when I gave it a try, it was a quite easy match.
Amazing. And I guess this question would be for you, Maria. In terms of your background and your education, obviously studying the physical product design, right? And then obviously you're now in the UI UX space as well with the digital product design. What are the key differences there, and what skills did you acquire throughout your education process that set you up well for your time now in Fintech and also in digital product design?
So I think, again, it was the skills were in the problem solving. These are super transferable skills. All the presentations as well. I remember I used to be so nervous. English is not my first language as well. And it was really hard to present, and it is uncomfortable, but we're going to be doing that all throughout our lives as product designers. And in Fintech is no different. So that was another one of the transferable skills, is being able to talk about what you've done and explain why you've done it, and be open minds, because I remember some of the feedback maybe sometimes not what we want to hear, because we're really passionate about what we've built. And we're going to see throughout any product design career, including UX UI, that feedback is a way to make great products, and being really open-minded to it.
Mm-hmm. Question coming in from Kai Stotford. If it's not too personal, do you both like what you do, and does it keep you interested and motivated?
Yes, I mean, I'll say quickly, Alicia. I was just talking to Alicia before this call about a recording that I was looking at yesterday of someone using our app, and it was someone that was in financial difficulty, and we could see that from how they were using the platform, and that is why we do it, and this is why it is very gratifying. It is a little bit complicated. Fintech, I'm not going to lie, is not the most easy thing, especially in terms of service and understanding everything behind it. But when you do see people struggling and having personal problems, and you can help them, and the product was helping them, that's when it's like, I'm doing a good job.
Amazing. What would you say, Alicia?
Yeah, I would say definitely helping people. It's a great take on it. And I think the way in which I keep interested might be slightly different. I think everyone is different, but the way in which I love this job is because I get given responsibilities and I get given the space for me to take on some, some roles that are challenging, to take responsibilities, sometimes something to be accountable. So I can say, this is what we're doing and this is happening. And perhaps it's my personal trait, having a business of my own. I do really like that freedom of being able to tell someone, okay, this is what I'm going for, and I don't have to review it necessarily with every single person in the hierarchy of the company and whatsoever. So I guess the freedom of that is really good for me.
Amazing. A question coming in from Charles Mortimer, and Charles is asking, can it get overwhelming being the only product designer in your squad and talking to everyone else?
I would say yes. You have normally a big team of developers that want to make the easiest problem solution. They're not going to want to build something too glamorous. So sometimes you do have to have these conversations trying to explain to them why this is so much better for the user. It is like, I don't know what you think, Alicia, but there is some idea that product designers and engineers sometimes don't get along so well just because of that. And so it does bring some awkward conversations sometimes. And if you had more of a design team within the squad, you'd have some more people to back you up. But then normally the product managers should be able to back you up.
Yeah, I think if the product manager is aligned with you, that's good. I would argue when working in an agency and I was working only with the design team, maybe it's a different agency environment. There was so much competition that it was actually overwhelming. So being the only designer or just a designer being supported by someone else in a team at times can be quite liberating, because I have Maria that I can go to and I can chat with her about my problems and she tells me her problem she's having with her product, but there's no internal competition on I'm delivering more or I'm doing that. So I definitely see that as a good thing as well. But it can feel quite lonely at times, because being the only creative in a squad is very hard to get your point across, and getting people to look at a problem not from the very, very technical perspective, but from a vision and strategy side of things. So if everyone is aligned, though, it's good.
Amazing. And Torvidas is asking a question. Do you think there's any role for industrial CMF roles in fintech? And what physical items can be created by fintech companies or UI UX companies, if there are any?
Oh yes, absolutely, right. I think that we've gone through this wave. Every product is digital now, and we do these apps. But sometimes a good solution is no app at all, right? I think we are doing this. There's this connection of physical products and finances, and we are moving into a more digital world and how people treat money. People are not going to go to banks so much, but I definitely think there is a lot of need at the moment in the industry. I don't know what you think, Alicia, but I feel like people want more innovation because it is stagnating a little bit. We have a lot of money transferring platforms, a lot of money holding platforms. And with crypto, I think the way that we handle money could potentially need some more of that physical element.
Yeah, I agree.
Awesome. A few questions coming in from Manuel Gutierrez, and I'll ask them, I'll segment some of those. So first and foremost, Manuel's asking, when you do design work, how do you stay focused and not get distracted?
You want to go, Alicia?
I do get distracted. That's the reality of things, I would say. Depends where I'm working. So when on the working from home days, I find myself more productive than the office days at times. It's good every now and then to go in the office because I have the focus, but in the office, you stand up, you have a chat with your colleague and you have loads of meetings. I think in this company, I don't know if it's every company, but we have tons of meetings as well. So then I guess you have that urgency of like, okay, I have a couple of hours, I got to do my design work as well. But I guess to keep focus, if I'm working from home, I'll try to maybe, like if I really can't work, I just take a break. No one is actually looking at you. I just go on my phone, go on TikTok, or just make a cup of tea or something. And then I work better when I have rested a little bit, because there's no point in just banging on work if you just can't do it. So
Yeah, and I would say it's a good sign if you're getting distracted. I think the best designers are the most curious minds, and you're meant to find everything quite fascinating and want. So it's normal to procrastinate and to find other things. But naturally, when you have a deadline, I don't know if you're anything like me, you might wait a bit last minute. I think I used to do that at uni, and I still do that, to be honest. But I work well under pressure, so I know I'll have that last day to get everything done. And it'll be fresh on my mind. So you'll manage that. I think we're still quite young. I think it's been 2 years in the industry, so we're still figuring it out, to be honest.
Old habits, old habits.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I think this question would be for you, Alici, especially when doing your own projects and having your own startup such as Freddie. How do you keep yourself busy and motivated?
Well, I would say, how do I not get too busy all the time? That's the first question. I don't know, is the question more, how do I keep myself with the mind on my project? Because it's more of abstract thing. Okay.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely hard when you are alone. I started Freddie alone. And it was at the beginning, I had a clear roadmap in mind, right? I'm like, I got to develop the app. I got to hire the developers. I got to hire this and that. And I set some deadlines, and then I had those other people that were holding me accountable as well. When then you're alone, and that happened after the launch, I did have a bit of a burnout as well. So you guys be careful with that, because it is quite hard. And then what helped me a lot to get back on track was to get my friend Danny to help me out with the marketing side of things, to have someone else that keeps you accountable, that says, okay, let's send those emails this week and let's try this and that. But just in general, if you don't have that person, just setting little goals to yourself and say, okay, I know it's very overwhelming and I don't know necessarily where to start from, but I'm just going to start by tonight doing 20 minutes of research. And then those 20 minutes of research will become 1 hour or 2 hours a night, where you will know a bit more what to do. So it's just really balancing how you feel, but not ignoring those signs of being overworked and overstressed, because those are very important as well.
Amazing. And I think this follows on quite nicely. Charles is asking a question in terms of, when setting up Freddie, were there any bumps that you found, and how did you go about contacting the right people to help you?
Very good question. I think, as Maria said before, we just learn, and learn is a constant process of learning. And I think with Freddie, it's definitely been the case. I always say, like, I decided to start it because you'll never be fully ready, so you might as well just start. That's my go-to quote. And I handle with that. So there has been many bumps. So the first one was, I had to get some money for developing the app, and I couldn't get it because I didn't have it. So I set up a fundraiser. The fundraiser didn't work. And then it's all about, how much do you actually believe in this idea for it to work? So I took out a loan, and I have still this loan that I haven't repaid yet, and I developed the app. And then the app is launched and we don't have users on board. What do we do? Do you give up now? No, we continue. So we find different ways. So it's really, there's many bumps in the roads, even from understanding how to legally register your company. It takes time, and you will feel absolutely not ready for it and not competent enough. And you're lucky if you have some people that can help you with that. And if you can't, it's just like a slow process. Just be kind with yourself and know that you will get many things wrong, but as long as you keep going, it will be fine. So
amazing. And a question coming in from Iram, and I guess this relates more to the general practice of design and working in teams and collaboration. So do you find it hard to collaborate with other designers? Do you guys find yourselves clashing often with the design team, or do you often find that you have similar points?
I honestly think that depends on the team, depends on the personalities of the team as well. In our case, I think our head of design was quite smart into hiring different types of people. So I think me and Alicia are quite good listeners. We take a step back and then we will pitch in when it's relevant, but you need to have, I think it's all about like personality match. You'll have some people that have a more aggressive approach, people that have a more passive approach, and then find the right environment. We are all there for the same reason. It is a job at the end of the day. And I think everyone is quite aware of it. So we don't get too competitive because we're just here for the same reason. But yeah, I would say it depends on the team. What do you think, Alicia?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's a very hard job to gather the right team that can work with the right dynamic, as Maria said, because you always need different personalities in the team to bring value. And so if you get that right, it's great. I have worked in my past with designers that were way too competitive. And then it's just really a question of what are you doing? Is at the end of the day, this is a job. Sure, it is great, but at 5 or 6 you finish, you go home, you have other hobbies. Like at times, like there's way too much pressure. But yeah, if you have the right team, and you have to be lucky for it, but luckily we are, it all works very smoothly.
Amazing. That's a great mindset to have as well. And a question coming in from Murad Cookut. Murad's asking, what's your future plans in this industry, and where can you see yourselves in the coming years?
I mean, I am very fascinated in the fintech. I want to stay in here until I've helped some people. And it's hard to prove that you're helping a lot of people. And I think it's sort of what I want to keep doing. Financial health and helping people in financial difficulty. I honestly think the next steps, so within product design, you can go into an experts area, you can go into a management area. So you can decide to go and manage teams, or you can be an expert in problem solving, or expert UI, UX. So I'm very keen on UX, user experience, and service design. So I want to keep going that direction within the financial industry.
What about yourself, Alici?
I guess my answer is a little bit different than Maria. I would like for my app to be my only job. So ideally, in 5 years, I'll be the founder and CEO of my own company. And so it will be all for that. Not that I don't like fintech. I really like the field, but I guess one trait that I have is like, I really want to lead people. I want to inspire people. I want to be in charge. And that's something that can happen in fintech, but I was lucky enough to have an idea that I see working. And so I want to focus on that.
Amazing. And I guess a question that relates to that as well, that kind of comes off the back of that, is what's new and emerging in the fintech industry? Where do you guys see the fintech industry transitioning over the coming years?
Hard question. I think fintech is such a huge world, and it's part of the reason that I think we're in it is to try to demystify this big fintech monster and help people digest things a little bit easily. There was a huge Bitcoin era, and I think it's still happening. And now NFTs, there's a lot coming up, which I believe will be very led into the younger generations. So it's really important that we keep designing these products that are helping people understand it, but our customer is no longer necessarily the 6-year-old trying to get into crypto, but you'll be the new young generation that is trying to understand how things work and give them those tools. So it's hard. I personally, I don't know where it's going to go, but part of the reason I want to be here is because I believe it is going to be very transformative, and it will be really good in terms of product design. There will be a lot of opportunities, and I'll never be out of a job, I don't think. What about you, Alice? Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, I think it's really hard to say. I think there's I think in general, but it's not really fintech. Everything now, it's becoming more and more personalized. Everyone wants to have everything at the tip of the finger immediately now. So I think that fintech is still quite backwards, as you say, this big monster that very much not so technologically advanced like other sectors would be. So definitely I would see a more personalization of things, like you can already see in some apps like Revolut and other banking apps that are getting smarter and smarter, and perhaps involving crypto as well. As you said, it's a big thing now as well.
Amazing. And then what would you say are some of your favorite examples of design or UX?
This is a very broad
if you had to benchmark some things, or if some things that inspire you perhaps.
I always say I think Gov UK is a great one. It's definitely not a pleasant experience because no one wants to go and do their taxes, right? But you can, and it is something that is designed for everyone, very accessible. So I'm very passionate about accessibility as well. And products like that, the fact that we can use our computers to do everything in terms of legal is very exciting.
Yeah, I give you 2 things. The first one is an app, Headspace. Love it. I love how it progressed, really tailors the whole experience. And then the second thing is a bit more service design, but it's just the whole bus routes in London. If you think about how much work it was behind setting it all up, how every bus is going on that route, how to make sure that every single bus is going in the right direction. It's just, for me, that's a crazy amount of work, and it's very impressive.
Amazing. And then a question coming through from Tortvidas. Tortvidas is asking, what's the biggest hindrances so far for you guys in your career so far, or your jobs?
The biggest what? Sorry, can you repeat?
Hindrances, the biggest challenges, the biggest obstacles.
For me, I think it was when I decided to go from physical product to digital. I had, it was a little bit of a bet. I said, I'll be able to financially go through these 4 months without a salary. And you sort of have to believe a lot on yourself. And I was aware that I could fail. And I think that was quite hard. It wasn't necessarily detrimental because then it paid off, but it could have not. And I was in a company that was a family-owned business, where it was your first job after uni as well. Your self-esteem is like non-existent. You don't know you're a great designer. Even though everyone tells you you're a great designer, you still don't believe it. So it's easy to get stuck, and taking that leap of faith and believing in yourself, I think it's quite hard, but once you get there, it pays off.
Amazing. And what would you say, Alici?
I would say for me, I was lucky enough to start very young with a very interactive job in a startup. So one thing that's always been, that it was super hard at the beginning, back in 2013, was the public speaking, just being able to understand what to say, how to say it, read the room, and give it like public presentations. And I think that the challenge I've had that has turned into a very big strength I have is to make sure that what I say in meetings is concise, that I have the right confidence to speak to stakeholders, to speak to people in the business, no matter what the level they are. And I guess that has also turned in like the challenge of like, understand that at times you don't know everything, you got to ask for help, you got to take a step back. And though you're confident, because I find myself in a slightly different position than Maria, I find myself like rather confident in these things from the very beginning. At times it's hard to tell yourself, okay, you don't know everything, just take a step back, chill out, and ask for help. So
amazing. And thanks a lot to Win as well for posting the .gov.uk government design principles through. In terms of what's it called, principles and tools, what's your favorite recommended tools to test and evaluate a design?
Do you want to go first? I mean, I think we use the same tools.
Yeah, we use user testing for testing designs. We design in Figma. We do some user audits in Hotjar, but that's more observational as well. We observe user behavior. What else do we use?
We have Google Optimize to some experiments as well. Google Analytics to analyze how a page is performing and the behavior as well, the funnels, understanding where people are coming from and where are they leaving. I think those are the main ones. I think if we had to pick like 3 of essential tools to be a designer, Figma
for sure.
User testing,
yeah.
And then
Hotjar, or no, it's not Miro. You can do it on Figma. Yeah, Hotjar, or just Google Docs in general. I feel like just every place where to get things organized.
Yeah.
Amazing. And in terms of user testing and in terms of testing a design as well, I saw you had some heat maps there as well, I guess related to eye tracking. So what kind of software do you guys use for eye tracking and to generate those heat maps? And are there any that are more seamless or better than others, perhaps?
So the heat maps that you've seen, it was scrolling, hover, and clicks. So it's not eye tracking yet. And that's on Hotjar. So Hotjar is a tool that you'll be able to put the URL and you'll start recording the activity and you'll be able to see where people are clicking on and where they're scrolling.
Amazing. Amazing. And I guess a really nice question to kind of end with, right? And the question for both of you guys, because it's coming in from Kai Stopford. And Kai's asking, what advice would you give a Middlesex University student in terms of getting a design job post-graduation?
Okay, for my experience, get moving, don't stop. You know, I think it took me 6 months until I got that first position. Use your network, reach out to me, reach out to Alice. I think people you can help each other out. it's hard. It's most likely not going to be like your ideal position, and it's okay. It's an experience, and that will help you get the second one. So even if it's not an ideal position, it's not where you want to be forever. Think of it as in a stepping stone. It is like I think our generation is a different generation where we are not staying in a job for a long, long time. So take that experience and get that to help you get the position you really want.
Amazing. And what would you say, Alici?
Yeah, for me, I would say find your difference, find your spark, find whatever defines you. Create a great portfolio that's really cool, looks nice, like a nice website. It doesn't necessarily matter how much experience you have. It matters how you present yourself, how you convince them that you're right for the role. Do your research before your interviews, but only if you are interested in them. Don't like send 50 different half-assed job applications. Don't just send like an apply on LinkedIn. Just take the time to do that, and I think that will be reflected. And especially reach out, go on LinkedIn, look at people that now work in companies you want that maybe have studied at your university. Do some things like that. Reach out in your network as well. Go to events, networking events, that will help.
Amazing. And on that note as well, it's definitely worth mentioning for all of us product designers, product design engineers, all of you guys who are currently working in the physical, digital kind of realms. Obviously, Maria, that was Maria's background before she transitioned into, the digital product design space. And Maria's also contributed with an article, UX UI Portfolios, which was featured on pages 93, 94 of the MDXPD 2021 magazine as well, which was a great resource for students on creating a design and digital portfolio. And it was contributing to the special feature on design portfolios as well, which runs across pages 75 to 105. So definitely, guys, feel free to look at and have a read and digest Maria's article as well on creating a UX or UI portfolio. And in there, Maria also presents tips and also offers mentorship. In terms of being able to contact her for assistance and guidance and stuff. And Alice has also, Alicia has also kindly forwarded her LinkedIn details as well. So definitely feel free to connect and reach out to Alicia as well. So Maria and Alicia, it was fantastic to have you this evening. Thanks for taking out your time for joining us tonight for both the talk, the fintech, the what, the why, the how, alongside the fantastic Q&A. So thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. That was great.
And for all of the participants, guys, details of the talk were sent through to your emails ahead of the talk, including links to the LinkedIn and digital folios. Definitely feel free to browse and connect there as well. And to all of the participants and attendees who've joined tonight, staff, students, alumni, guests, we really look forward to seeing you all again next week. So keep an eye out on your emails for the details of the next speaker and links to the next talk. And until next week, guys, stay well, stay safe, and thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, both.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.